Now, the controversial HS2 rail project has come in for more criticism, this time over its cost.
The high-speed rail line is due for completion by 2032 and will link London with the Midlands and the north of England. The government says it will cost £43 billion, but a new report by the Institute for Economic Affairs predicts it's more likely to be around £80 billion.
Dr. Richard Wellings wrote the report and joined us now from our central London studio. So firstly, Mr. Wellings, £80 billion. How did you come up with that figure then?
Well, we've identified a number of risks that are likely to push up the costs for taxpayers. One of those is that as the general election approaches, there will be temptations for the government to, if you like, buy off opposition by tunnelling extra parts of the routes, possibly diverting it. Another problem is the new HS2 stations will need to be linked into other transport networks. So already local authorities and transport bureaucracies are lobbying for various other schemes such as trams and so on. So this will add potentially billions more onto the costs. And thirdly, there's also the issue of regeneration around the HS2 stations, so these brownfield sites that are often very expensive to reclaim and redevelop.
So do you really think then that all these factors haven't been taken into account by the people who are planning HS2?
Well, I think it is realised that there will be knock-on effects. For example, stress is placed on particular parts of the transport network by the new patterns of travel that HS2 creates. But nonetheless, obviously that's not included in the basic cost of the project. But in terms of the overall effect on government spending, I think it does need to be factored in.
When we hear about the benefits HS2 brings, the billions of pounds of boosting to the economy, the connectivity, do you just think they're overblown? Do you not take those points and sort of accept that there will be enormous benefits from this project?
No, I don't. I mean, it's not just me that's saying that as well. I mean, independent organisations like the National Audit Office have also cast doubt on the HS2 business case, and it's well known it's based on questionable assumptions such as business travellers don't work on the train and so on. The point is, I mean, the main point is if this money was spent on high return transport investments, then the payoffs could be an awful lot greater, probably by a factor of 4 or 5. So really, it isn't the best value for money, for taxpayers' money. It's very poor value for money investment.
It is the case, though, isn't it, that big infrastructure projects cost a lot of money. They often end up costing more money than initially predicted. The Channel Tunnel, for example, the Jubilee Line extension in London's Underground. But yet people don't want to undo them. Once they're in place, benefits are there, and that's part of the deal, isn't it? That's how these things happen.
It's more that they gain their own political momentum, and then the politicians who are pushing for it don't want to lose face by taking a U-turn and cancelling the project. So, I mean, this is very worrying. I mean, just 5 years ago, the high-speed line announced by the Conservatives, that's similar to High-Speed 2, was only supposed to cost 20 billion. We're already up to 50 billion, including the train, so it wouldn't be inconceivable it could go a lot higher, which is very, very worrying.
Do you think that the headlines which will be generated by your figure you've come up with, do you think it's actually going to make any difference at all? You're just one voice, aren't you, against this project. Do you think anyone's going to take any notice?
Yes, I think so. I think that there is a momentum building against the scheme. We've seen people like Peter Mandelson and former chancellors and so on saying they're getting increasingly worried about the cost. And obviously, I mean, there is an opportunity cost. If we spent this money on something else, there could possibly be, well, almost certainly be much greater benefits. So this will divert transport investment from much better projects, and that's a big worry because obviously infrastructure is so important to growth in the long term.